Well, I'm definitely excited about as we round into the month of March. It's a national holiday in my eyes, and obviously something that's on the calendars of every college basketball enthusiast. It's something that gives us an indicator of madness to come down, but it's been that way for our entire SEC calendar and schedule. I think when you first look at our strength of schedule, a lot of people may think that we hadn't, at least that's been a narrative, had a strength of schedule. However, our strength of schedule indicates that we've had probably out of top five teams in the country, no one else has had more quad one games on their schedule than us, other than four opponents. So we're in the top five of that, and it's been part of our idea and identity that we would be able to get our strength of schedule where it needed to be. We started at Memphis, obviously on the road. We consistently have Illinois and Kansas on our schedule, have some great opponents to allow us to round out our team confidence. But here we are now going through the thick of things in the SEC, and we've been able to get to a very high number of quad one games, which I think prepares us for this month. Vanderbilt is playing great basketball. Mark Byington is a great coach. Obviously, he's done in year one some tremendous things. They're a great road team, obviously getting a win at Texas A&M, but they're an outstanding home team, being able to hold home court at in Nashville, and that's something that's telling of an NCAA tournament team. So we're excited about the opportunity to get back on the road and play a game that will definitely continue to help prepare us. But we've had a great practice today, and looking forward to the next thing tomorrow as we travel.
Questions for Coach?
Dennis, I know dimensions are the same, basket's still 10 feet and all that, but is there anything different that you have to get used to in walkthrough or whatever about playing at Vandy with the way the court's situated and all that?
Well, it's a unique place in itself. I think ultimately, the way I operate as a head coach, I've never sat down, so I'll still be communicating with my staff and team in the same area that I have normally done it. As it relates to out of timeouts, we have a veteran team with some guys sprinkled in there with some younger guys, sophomores and freshmen, but our guys do a great job connecting. What the difference is not the layout of the benches, but obviously the layout of their fans. Their fans are in the seats, and that can give you more of an advantage than any benches moving to the sides or to the baseline and et cetera. And it's a tough place to play. They're 13-2 at home this season, and I contribute that to their fans showing up and consistently getting behind their team. In addition to their team playing great basketball, they got wins over Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. So they're a great team at home.
Coach, going into the second half of these home and away matchups against teams, what are some keys to defeating teams that you've already faced before, now knowing that you both have seen each other play in real action?
Well, rule number one is taking care of the basketball. You can't win games on the road taking care of the basketball, and we got to do a better job not, drawing fouls and not giving up foul shots. So we have to keep that category as close as possible, with still understanding that Vandy may shoot more free throws than us, but if we can keep the deviation of that close, we will be able to be okay, but it can't be what it was at Arkansas where they shot 37 and we shot 17. That is a deviation that kind of spills in to other parts. It gives confidence to teams to see their ball go in a non-defensive situation more. It can give a team rhythm. It can take rhythm away from someone. So it's sort of like that in my eyes. We got to do a great job in those two areas specifically. And obviously understand that, they have great players. I think when you look at Nickel, he went 7 for 10 from three last night. And they also have capable guys. Jason Edwards is an unbelievable college player who's averaging 17, but they have experience. They have toughness. They have defensive prowess. They're very quick with their hands, and Coach Byington has done a great job.
Coach, you guys are up to pretty close to top 50 in defensive rate on Ken Palm. I'm curious to know kind of what kind of strides you've seen the team make on that end of the floor throughout the season.
I think our level of communication is great. We're good defenders when we conceal the possession with rebounding. So that's an area that we've been able to increase and get better at. The other thing is minimizing fouls. When you play great defense and then it ends in a foul, you're constantly continually putting your guys in a disadvantage. The clock goes back to 20 or whatever it's at, and or they end up at the foul line, and we can't afford to be in those situations.
How much of that defensive improvement is kind of correlated with Anthony Robinson stepping up? And can you just take us behind the scenes where he is now compared to where he was about a year ago?
Yeah, the growth of our defense obviously starts with our defensive coordinator, Ryan Sharbaugh, and obviously assistant defensive coordinator and rebounding coach, Kyle Smith-Peters. So those two guys work on that side of the ball in addition to me, and we do a great job. Ant Robinson's growth is obviously coming from a mental and emotional standpoint. A year later, he's a sophomore, so he had a great offseason in that area. The game slows down. He understands angles. But again, he's a kid that has gotten into some foul trouble a little bit, and we got to make sure he definitely plays hard, does it without fouling, and it doesn't minimize his mistakes. The other thing is Josh Gray. Josh Gray's presence on our team is well documented what he brings. It may not stand out statistically, but it stands out just with his experience and him being out on that floor and having that presence that we know he'll have. The other thing is, just understanding Trent Burns having a vertical threat that's been cleared is very, very, I think, awarding to our team to try to figure out those next steps in his development. The questions arise of a red shirt. Well, no decision has been made on Trent Burns, I can tell you that, and we're going to continue to monitor his development.
Well, Coach, just to follow that up, what are some of the areas you feel like you guys can still improve on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, protecting what we need to protect, obviously the paint, obviously the free throw count, and not giving up certain drives, kind of stay in rotation and communicate at a high level. Ball screen defense is very important. Transition defense is always going to be important, but how you give those transition baskets up, is it after a miss? Is it after a make? Is it because of a turnover? Is it because of a missed free throw? We got to maximize our opportunities to make sure our shell defense is set, and then that gives us a great opportunity to get stops. And our players, they're going to continue to communicate. Mark Mitchell has done a great job with his versatility, somebody that we can switch with. Aiden Shaw's done a great job in addition to Josh Gray. We just got to continue to do the things that we need to do as a team to grow. And it's going to be, just those small things adding up and becoming bigger things.
Coach, as we get to just three games remaining in the season before the SEC tournament, what are the conversations kind of switch to, as you guys obviously are a tournament team, and when you talk to your team, what are you talking about as far as kind of motivation and just trying to keep things, for the long haul here?
Well, the thing that I always talk about is obviously, and you guys know this, of us peaking at the right time. And I still don't think our team has played their very best yet. So that's one thing. The other part of how do you keep your team engaged? And that's consistently putting an emphasis on growth. And that's where you've seen our team gradually grow. So our emphasis since June was to have a steady pace of growth day in and day out, and being proud of our work after practice, staying in the moment, not looking too far ahead, no too far behind. And our players, our staff has done that. They've done everything I've asked in terms of growing individually so that the byproduct of the individual growth can seep into our team's identity and a team growth. And you've seen our team consistently grow, whereas a month ago, there was questions, can this team be better than what they are? A month after that, can this team be better than what they were? And we've done some things statistically to show that connectivity offensively and defensively. Now, as we get into March, and it's the crux of what we've all been preparing for since June, is to make sure we're in a gradual progression of growth. And that's what I ask for most.
And it's I know there was a legal ruling earlier this year about junior college eligibility, and some people have wondered if Jacob could get another year. I know roster management is like a year-round thing. Have you had that conversation with him at all?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had the question, the statement, the question. We keep our compliance abreast to everything, and our compliance keeps us updated on everything. Jacob Cruz is a young man that will have a extra year of eligibility, but it's one of those things where no different than guys have to be able to announce going to the pro or going to something like that. We're not going to cover those communications because again, we want to stay where our 2 feet are. We want to concentrate on where we're at, and then now be able to make decisions when decisions are needing to be made. And those decisions won't be made because you got to look at he's a husband, family, unbelievable wife and child. What's going to be best for his future? We'll get with his representation, have a group family meeting, and we'll talk about that in the postseason to see what's best.
Time for one last question.
Hey, Coach, on Trent Burns, just what are the considerations with, if he gets into the rotation at this point in time with ramping him up, and what is giving you confidence that he'd be able to be inserted at this point?
Well, let me say this about Trent Burns. I've always been in communication with Trent Burns, and I've never used the word and red shirt with him because I don't want to stifle a young man's growth in the moment where he sees himself potentially fitting in while we are taking our doctors and trainers orders on his situation. We want to keep our kids safe, and the most important part is to communicate and keep the lines of communication open. But we want to see our kids develop, and that's what he's been doing. You all have seen him in the layup lines doing different things. You've seen his growth just from the sideline, but there's a lot of components adding to it. The timing, increasing practice reps, and things like that. And now, where will he be at as it relates to inserting in a game? We're trying to figure that out. We don't have an answer, but again, we're preparing and trending in that direction. It was great to see his name change on that injury report. Those are signals and signs that a young man is moving forward in his progress. And you got to look at the big picture. The big picture is this: Trent Burns is a heck of a basketball player. Trent Burns makes our team better. He gives us a vertical threat at the rim, a completely different basketball player than Peyton Marshall, than Josh Gray at that position. But again, the timeline of it all is what benefits this young man. And that's what I'm going to keep in the forefront of that decision. But he's practicing. He's cleared to do a lot more things than he was previously. So I'm just going to continue to monitor it and see what's best from a mental, emotional, as well as physical, and also communicate with his parents.
All right, thanks.